Alright, here we are, Canadian junkyard. Okay, pro tip here. Hey everybody, welcome back to your favorite YouTube show, Fixing Random Crap with Craig. It is Sunday morning here in the Great White North. It's not quite white yet, but the snow is coming. So we are closing the pool and just putting it to bed for the winter. So if you would walk through this, a few hot tips. One is that when it comes time to get the water level down, a lot of people have a situation where their main drain in their pool does not work, and that is the case for me and many others that I know. That tends to just rot out eventually and just sort of get blocked out in the skimmer. So how do you drain the pool without having the main drain? You know, because once the water gets down below the skimmer line over here, once she's below the skimmer, it's hard to just backwash it out. So I like to start with well, to be honest, I like to start the process by shocking the pool a few days before, just to get the water really nice. Make sure your water's balanced before you put it to bed, and then do a real good backwash when you're ready to start emptying. I backwash for like, I don't know, half an hour probably. That's just getting water out of the pool for you anyway, what you need to do. Do a final rinse, and then we need to get the water level down below the returns. I like to go a couple inches below, as you'll see there. So that is completed as of last night. But how do we get the water out? So I like to, maybe a lot of people know this, I don't know, I kind of figured it out and thought I would share it. But if you set up a vacuum, then essentially it becomes like a main drain. So I try to, once I do my long backwash, I try to then I hook up my vacuum and vacuum it out the rest of the way. So it allows me to continue draining out via the bottom of the pool even once the water is below the main drain. So that's hot tip number one. Otherwise, you're just using like a little pump like this, a little submersible pump, which we threw in as well to speed things up a little bit, but honestly, like, it's not really making much of a difference. That's taking out so little water compared to the pump when it's running on full. Also, you'll want to make sure that your pump, I have a new variable speed pump, that it is set on like quick clean or on a high gallon per minute mode, so that you're getting water out of the pool as fast as you can. I had noticed that it's like kind of progress slowed down, and it's hard to notice because it's like, oh, it's kind of going down the tiles slowly anyway, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, some time's gone by, it doesn't look like it's moving. My pool had reset its way, the pump had reset itself into like a low gallon per minute mode, because it was back at a low speed, which is the whole point of the variable speed filter. But anyway, recommend making sure you have it on high the whole time, so you don't spend the whole day trying to get your pool empty. You will see that there's a lot of work that this pool needs along the walls and stuff. There's a lot of fix up to do, and that's going to be happening this spring. Stay tuned for a full video series on that one. But the next thing we're going to do is blow out the lines, and that's one of the other reasons I wanted to make this this quick video is like, how do you go about blowing out the lines, at least on the pump that I have, and I'll show you the way that I've done it for the last few years. That's worked out pretty well for me. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to crawl and reach down and get the eyelets out of there. So I'm going to unscrew those and take those out. I'm going to grab my bucket where I like to keep all this stuff over the winter so I don't lose anything. That light that you're seeing right there is going to have to come out, and it's going to go up here on the deck. We're going to make sure we don't lose that screw. The other return is right there, so that one we're going to get as well. And then, I'm going to unscrew those, and we'll show you how we go about blowing out the lines with a simple shop vac that you probably have at home already. Talk to you later. Okay, so here's another hot tip for you. I just leaned down to unscrew the inlet here, and was reminded that I need a tool to do that. Sorry, it's a little jiggly there, but you can see that there are 3 tabs there. So those can be really hard to unscrew by hand, even though I only put them in hand tight at in the spring. they're a little tricky to get out. So what's really helpful there is a set of needle nose pliers. So I'm gonna lean down and kind of like jam it into those things, and then you can twist that to get this guy out. And we'll be back with the blowing out of the lines next. Okay, just in case you're not familiar with these look like, it might be your first time closing your pool or with a new pool, they just kind of work like this. So these guys, that has the ability to screw it in. They hold them like this, and then they can you can angle them sort of however you like. Usually they suggest a downward and to 8 p.m. on the 24-hour clock. I read that somewhere. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what this looks like. Okay, we're back in the pool shed now. So we have our pump, our variable speed pump, which goes up to the filter here. And on the way out, it goes through the heater, and there, out there, and back around, and out to the pool. So the first thing I like to do at this point is make sure that the pool pump is off. You can see that the screen is off, like the power is off to it. I happen to have a switch here. I also like to shut off the breaker in the basement, but I do that at the very end of the process. So we're going to open up our pump now. Your pump might look different, but this is a pretty popular pump, and a pretty popular kind of setup. These Haywards tend to be set up kind of the same way. There's two type of baskets that they have. This is the bigger one. You might have like a rounder basket on yours. Let's take the lid off. Set that aside. I'm going to take out the pump basket. We're going to use that to collect a lot of the little tools that we little pieces like those eyelet returns. We're going to put a lot of stuff in that basket for the winter so we don't lose it. So you'll see there's much water in here. So this is the suction side. That's where water is coming from the pool. That's going to the skimmer, that line back there. And then, as I said, this is the one that goes back out to the pool. Actually, there's two. There's one there and one there. One of them is cut off outside. I can't remember. One of them's the old one. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is the water comes in here, goes through the pump, and then goes out through the system. And then we got to blow out all of this stuff. We got to blow out the pump, the head of the filter, and the heater. And there's various plugs on each of those that we're going to take out to make sure we get air through all of these spots, so there's no water left in any of these pieces. We're also going to be emptying our filter. There is a plug down there for that we'll be pulling shortly. But yeah, first thing I'm going to do is use the shop vac, which is behind me, trusty old rigid shop vac, to just suck the water out of the basket here. Get rid of that, and then we're going to start putting it on blow and sending air through all this stuff. So okay, we're ready to go here. One other quick mention is that when you do use your shop vac in wet mode, I like to open it up, make sure it's empty for one thing, because you're just going to have a big mess of crap, of wet dirt if you don't do that inside. And also I take off the air filter to make that a little bit easier. So we're going to turn this on. Oh, so it's not plugged in. Go take care of that. That's too bad. Really thought I was going to have a perfect video today. Here we go. I'm plugged in. I'm going to suck this water out of here. You can see that as I'm sucking it out, there's water coming like back in from the pump area. Now it's starting to slow down. Still coming a little bit there, but anyway, we'll do this again at the end, but it's just to get the majority of the stuff out. Okay, so now that the water is out of here, you can see a little bit better that there's a hole there. That's kind of hard with the light here, but anyway, that is a round hole. And down here, there's another round hole down at the bottom there, right in there. And the shop vac attachment that I have just seems to fit right into that hole. That one's a little bit bigger. This one I kind of need to hold or like wedge it on to get it to stay there. But yeah, what I'm gonna do is we're going to start with blowing out the discharge side. So I'm going to jam the, I'll try to do it right now on camera. Let's see how it works. I'm going to jam this in here. Try to do it with one hand, see how that works. I kind of need to bend this a little bit usually to make it work. Try to get that in there, then have it make the turn. Kind of, at least get it close. There. Okay. So see that is right into that hole now, which is perfect. So when we turn on the shop vac now, we're gonna, ideally, if things have gone right, see water come out our jets. So what's likely to happen is that the closest return, or jet, return's the proper name, will be the one where you should see the water coming out first. So we should see water there. And then when that starts to die off, you may get a little bit out of your further jets at that time. That one's really hard to see because of how bad a shape my pool is in over there. But you might get a little bit out of both. But what you want to do then is we're going to take a plug, which I will show you, and we're going to plug the near one while the shop vac is going. And that will force the air all out through that guy. So it should bring the water there. And I'm actually going to like swap the plug a few times. And then just to give each return a few turns of air coming through it. And the other thing is like to get the last little bit of water in there out near the end, because there's a little lip where like at that return in the plumbing. So like actually what you kind of do is like stick your fingers in there and try to like restrict the airflow a little bit, and that will cause like more airflow at that lip and hopefully allow the last bit of water to get out of there. So I'll try to show you how we do that. Okay, I'm gonna attempt to plug this in. I already have it on, and then run over so we can see the water come out. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Oh, proved me wrong. It's coming out this one first. Probably didn't need to run. That took a lot longer than I thought it was going to. So it could be that that is the shorter line, maybe. Maybe the plumbing works its way around to there and then like splits off somewhere the other side to get to that side. But anyway. So there's our water coming out. That's what we want to see. Not seeing much over here yet. But I'm going to let that go until it pretty much stops, and then we will grab a plug and get the other side going. Okay, so I realized what was happening. I was surprised that it wasn't making more noise and there wasn't more water coming out. What happened is I forgot to turn my filter head back to put it to recirculate. What I was doing was actually blowing out the waste line, which, you know, doesn't hurt. It's the backwash line. Clear that right out, but never really done that before. But you want to have it back to recirculate on the head. We're not trying to clear out the filter sand. We're not trying to empty that. We're gonna just pull the plug on that thing. The idea is to just clear the head of the filter, and I do that on recirculate is what I read to do. So anyway, you can hear it. You can probably hear it now. Some gurgling over there. Like it's really. I didn't get the camera on quick enough, but it was coming out quite a bit better there. So you can still see there's some water coming out, and I'm gonna get that plug now and be ready to plug that side so we can get the other jet going. There has been a little bit of water coming out of there. Seen some tiny drips, but once we put the plug in, we should see a better flow there. For those that don't know, this is a pool plug. I've got kind of a selection of them here in my pool closing bucket. But it's just a rubber thing. You jam it in and you twist this to tighten it, and it just expands it a little bit to make it fit snug. So there's various sizes, like your returns might be different sizes, but your pool store should have these. I think there's other types of plugs that aren't rubber, I'm not sure. But anyway, these were what came with this pool when we moved in, and they worked pretty well. So we're sticking with those, and we're gonna go put this in that hole and see if we get more water to come out the other side. I'm not getting much more water out here now, so we'll plug both sides and let's see how it goes. Okay, we got that set to go. Get our plug. I'm gonna put this in, block the air, and then, I don't know if you can see that, but a whole bunch more water coming out over there now. It's working way better. So I'll let that go for a minute or two, and then I'll go put the plug on that side, and we'll see hopefully more water come out of this one. Anyway, I just do that a few times, and then we'll be done blowing out the two return lines. Okay, so all our lines are drained. They're looking real good. That plug is in. I'm going to show you what we do here. I can't remember if I mentioned this already, but you just want to just jam this in as far as you can. You're really trying to create a seal to keep water from going back in there. As the winter goes along and we get like 25 feet of snow here as we normally do, just kidding, it's not that much, but sometimes. Anyway, the water level is going to go up, and you want to have a really good seal at that at that return so that water doesn't creep back in through the plug. So when you put this in, you jam it in as hard as you can, get it to a good spot where it feels like it's level, it's not like off kilter or whatever, and then you're going to twist this. And as you twist this, you want to loosen that up first. As you twist that, it expands a little bit. It's hard to see, but as you keep twisting it, it gets a little bit fatter there in the middle, and that will create that seal. That's what you want to do. So I'm going to do that on this one, and then we're going to work on blowing out the rest of the stuff here, all the rest of the equipment. Okay, we're back in the pool shed. We're going to do a few things now. We're going to unscrew the pressure gauge, also the sight glass, and we won't forget the O-ring that is in there, which is very important and easy to forget and lose. So we're going to make sure we put that in our basket so we don't lose that. There's a couple of plugs in the filter itself. It's hard to do with one hand, but I don't know if you can see it down there. It's kind of like tucked in there a little bit. There's a plug that you can, sometimes you need a socket to do it. Sometimes you need a 9/16 socket. My old Hayward was a 9/16 or a flathead, but to get down, at least where mine was, I really needed the socket on a socket wrench. And there's another plug at the front, much at the front, right in the middle here, down at the bottom. Again, with the newer Hayward filters, you can just unscrew those by hand. I'll show you those when I get them out. So like I said, we're going to take this, that out. If you have an air relief valve on your filter head, then, and if that's something you can take off, then you can do that too. I've never had one like that. Anyway, we're going to talk heater after that, but I'll get those things out. We'll show you what to look. Okay, we got our sight glass, our pressure valve, pressure gauge, our sight glass. That's the O-ring. Don't lose that. These are the plugs that go in the. They just twist right out. So we're going to put all of this stuff into our basket so we don't lose any of that, and it's all ready for next winter. For next spring, I meant to say. Ready for next spring. So next what we're going to do is turn on our shop vac again, and we're just going to give this whole unit a quick blowout. So we're going to blow it out on recirculate and on waste. We already did that earlier by accident, but I'll do it again just for completion. And then we're going to set it to winter, and which is over here, winter. There we go. And blow it out there again, and then we'll be pretty much done with this part here. So I'm going to flip it on. You can see a lot of air coming out through there. There's nothing coming out. So it's coming out through the pressure valve. Nothing through the sight glass yet. So when I move this to waste, as soon as I put it down, see a bunch of water just spitting out of there? Look at all that. As soon as I open that up. So I'll put it to waste. And some more water. I don't know how well you guys can see that. That's a little bit. So it's coming out both now, see? When I only had it on recirculate, I was only getting it out of the pressure gauge valve of the sight glass. Now they're both air coming out of there. So then we'll set it to winter, Okay, and we're good. We'll leave that for maybe 10-15 seconds, and then I'll turn it off. Okay, now next up for me, I realize not everybody has a heater. There's a heater here, so I need to winterize that also. It's pretty straightforward for me anyway. There's a couple of plugs. There's one here that I'm going to unscrew, and there's another one in the back. I won't show you that one because it's going to be really hard with only one hand, but this guy comes right out. Might get a few drips there. Nothing really. We will blow that out though. Put that in my basket. The one's back here. It's really hard to see, but I'm going to take that one out, and then we're going to blow it out once more to force air out through any of those holes, and then we're going to be pretty much done with this one. Okay, both plugs are out. I like to just put my hand over the plug to make sure I feel air there. So I got no water at all coming out. The one in the back, same thing. Feel lots of air coming out of that. Let that run for 30 seconds. Turn it off. And we're ready for our next step. Okay, so at this point, everything to the left here, on the the pump side, the return side of water going back to the pool, the pipes have been blown out. So that's really important where we wanted to get to. We've done everything through the pump with all of this stuff, all the plugs still in here, so we get maximum pressure out at the pool, which is over there, to blow out the lines. We plugged those. Then we took all the plugs out of this, blew out everything there so that had the most amount of pressure going to it. And then we walked back through the system to be like, okay, the heater is next, and we're going to go and like take the plugs out of that, blow that out. So that's all done. You'll want to follow your directions or have your professional person help you shut down your heater. All I do is turn the gas off to it, which happens to be just out here at that joint union there, and I just turn it off, and then I winterize it, and I'll take this panel off, and we'll turn it to off inside. But there's no gas going to it anyway. So anyway, but I'm sure your heaters are all different. But you want to make sure that you find if there are plugs on your heater that you pull them, so there's no water stuck in your heater. Throughout the winter, it could freeze up, and that can be very costly. So don't do that. Okay, what's next? Next up, we are going to focus on the suction side, so out towards the skimmer basket. I do, however, have this chlorinator, which is kind of in the way. And now that I've blown out all of this stuff where it's connected, it connects here and then also over there. And I've blown all that stuff out. So I'm actually going to take my chlorinator out. The chlorinator is the only piece, if you have one, that needs to go inside for the winter because it shouldn't freeze. There's some stuff in there that doesn't do well with, minus 40, which we get here around here. So I'm going to disconnect that just to give myself a little bit more space here. And I'm going to show you how we blow out the skimmer. Okay, taking this chlorinator out reminded me of one other hot tip that I have for you because I learned the hard way. These things here, I generally just used to kind of jam this in the top and then put it in the basement or whatever. It's really easy to step on the sides of these things. And how this works is it has like a valve like that screws in here. And when I sheared that off, these are really expensive. It's like $25 each to get the proper Hayward ones because they're just really unique and weird. So I like to take this off so that I'm not likely to step here and break that thing off. And you can see some more water kind of draining out of it there now. Should empty it out real good. There we go. I'll let that drain upside down before I bring it in so it doesn't make a mess in the house. And then I'll take these cables here and just kind of jam them in. It's gonna be hard with one hand, in there like that. Put the lid next to it. Put it in the basement where nobody's gonna knock it over because that happened one year too. Anyway, these can be very expensive to fix these things up in your chlorinator, so try to take good care of that. Okay, so chlorinator is now out of the way. Gives us a little bit more space that needed to go inside anyway. You'll see that I've taken the hose from the shop vac out of the hole down there and lined it up with this one. So this is your shop vac, hopefully is tiny, a little bit smaller, it might fit right into that hole. Mine doesn't. I just can kind of wedge it in. It creates a bit of a kink here, but it still seems to work, getting enough airflow out there. So yeah, we'll go show you what it looks like at the skimmer basket when we get out there. Okay, skimmer's just over there. I've taken the basket out and taken the lid off, obviously. We're going to try the old plug it in and run trick again. And hopefully you get to see Oh, I hear some gurgling. It's good news. Oh, there it comes. Woohoo, baby! There's a lot of water in that line. So a lot of it is gonna like go out through the skimmer into the pool. The rest of it's just gonna, you know, go all over the place here. But this thing I'm gonna let run until it's pretty darn dry, to be honest with you. Then we're gonna take a few more steps to put a little bit of plumbing antifreeze down there and stuff. You can tell with just that little shop vac, it does a pretty good job. So we're gonna let that run for a while, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. Still coming along nicely here, getting closer to being done. Another update in a minute or two. It's been maybe 2 minutes. Getting closer again. It's been maybe another minute or two. But there's not much water left down there. It's just kind of working its way out. Pretty cool rainbow coming out of there. I don't know if you can see that. It's awesome. Real close to done now. See, there's not much more. There's still some raindrops coming out of there, but we'll give it another minute. Okay, so this is pretty much what we want. You know, there's a few little drips still popping up there. I don't know if you can see them or not. I'm sort of blocking the sun. Very little coming out. Just sprinkles. You know, we're pretty much totally just hearing air come through. We're going to use the shop vac to suck up a little bit of water that's down there at the bottom. And, yeah. Okay, next step. Okay, so you'll see here a better look of how things are looking down there. Pretty dry, but still a little bit of water down there. And you'll also see some like blue stuff. That's a chemical, that's an iron addition that I use from Costco called like Crystal Magic or something. I don't know what it is. Fights algae. And stuff works fantastic. I forget the name of it. If anybody's actually interested, throw it in the comments and I'll dig it up. I got still half a bucket of it left. But that stuff just like sits down there, like because you add it through the skimmer, and I don't really want to leave that in there without any water. So that's another reason why I'm going to shop vac this out. So we're going to try to get this here cleaned out. I put the shop vac back onto suck mode. So we're just cleaning it out here and get it nice and dry. I will like get some of that blue stuff out by hand. Suck up what I can here. Okay, we're back. We got this cleaned out real nice, looking great for the winter. You can see down at the bottom there, there's one plug in there, the one on the top of the screen, I guess. That's what used to go to the main drain, as far as I know. This happened before I inherited this pool, but that is why that main drain has been plugged, is there was like things rotted out down there or whatever, and it was leaking. So the solution to that a lot of times, instead of digging up your whole pool, is just to plug that line. That's why we needed to use the vacuum to empty the pool. The one that's open is the one that the air was shooting out of and causing all that, volcanic, old faithful type of explosions of water for us, which is great. That's the one that goes back to the skimmer. So there's a few things we're going to do. First off, we're going to take a little bit of this plumbing antifreeze. Note that it is plumbing antifreeze. I did not know that many years ago when closing a hot tub, and only thought there was hot tub antifreeze, there was car antifreeze. So don't make that mistake. I had to empty the whole hot tub after that year. But anyway, grab some plumbing antifreeze. Usually it says right on it's good for pools. This is just, pretty standard stuff. We're going to pour down that hole that goes back to the skimmer about 2 cans of pop worth of this antifreeze. And that would be 2 cans of soda for our American viewers. So I never measure that out, but that's generally how much you kind of, it's been suggested to get down there. I reference Swimming Pool Steve, one of my favorite YouTube channels, as suggesting that. So I'll put 2 cans of pop down, and then you can do a few things. So you can either plug that hole down there with one of your plugs that you have, similar to our plugs that we put in our returns. Or you can add this thing called the gizmo. And this is a cool thing. This is made in the USA. Pretty sure it says the gizmo. Oh, there it is. That's the gizmo. This thing is great because what it does is it screws into the hole down there like a plug, but it also, you can squeeze it. So what happens if you do end up getting water inside of your skimmer, you don't want that to happen, but inevitably you might, it will squeeze instead of like breaking the skimmer, which as you can imagine is very costly and a massive pain in the butt. This thing will squeeze as the water expands and freezes and save your butt. So what I plan to do is just, put that down in there, screw it in, and then be good to go. Another thing you can do is take one of your old antifreeze bottles, such as this one here that I had for last year, and you can just like put that in, put it in there. But it does suggest also to add a little bit of water. You see there's some liquid in there, to add some weight to it so that it will actually sink down, because if water does get into the skimmer and this thing is empty, it's just going to float up and not save you at all. But by putting that some water into it to sink it down as things freeze, it will squeeze this bottle, because it can squeeze and also save your skimmer. Another thing I generally like to do is take an empty one of these and jam it into the skimmer from the outside. It usually fits in that hole pretty well. Depends on the size of your skimmer, I guess, but this works pretty well for mine. In case any water builds up there or any ice thinks is maybe going to freeze up, we can do that. Just on a video, just one sec. Hey, Hudson, you say hi, guys?
Hey.
Hey. I don't know if you can see anything. Wow, am I super zoomed in? There you are. There's my assistant. It's really cold out, man. You should probably get some socks. Holy moly. Anyway, those are the steps we're going to take. Sometimes I try to do all three. I will put in the gizmo, and I will put this thing in next to it if it fits, which I think it does. I got to remember from last year. And then I'll jam this in the front. I'll show you what that looks like when it's all done. Here we go.
Why wet here?
It's wet because Daddy just had a bunch of water come out of the skimmer.
Oh.
Okay, so you can see here now, the gizmo is screwed into the hole. I also jam in that bottle with a little bit of liquid in the bottom to hold it down if it was to want to try and float up. And then you can also kind of see there, I have jammed in another one. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'm not going to crawl into the pool, but just around the skimmer. This is probably like super overkill, but I really don't want any water to cause a problem in here over the winter. So that completes the winterization of our skimmer. So we can put our lid on it happily here, and we'll bring our basket and put it with all the other stuff. Okay, more to come. I forgot to mention that what I also did, I remember I put 2 cans of pop down the pipe. Once all this stuff was in here, I also poured about another can of pop or 2 just down on top, so you can see there's, I don't know if you can see, but it is pink down there. So I put a little bit of antifreeze in the bottom of the skimmer, just so again, if any water gets down there, at least the antifreeze will help to, mix into that water and make it harder for it to freeze. So I used about 1/3 of this bottle here. Yeah, that's about all you need. All I use. Okay, folks, so that pretty much does it for what I really wanted to walk through. Blowing out the lines and all the equipment, of course, is the most critical thing. You don't want any of that stuff having water in it and blowing up, because you can imagine that's going to be a big bill and a big pain in the butt come springtime. What's left for me here, I got to take that light out. There's just one screw that holds the light in. I'm going to take that out, and it has a big cord that pulls it up on the deck to get it out of the way, and I'll make sure I don't lose the screw, because that would be a big problem. I'll put it in my little bucket. For water chemistry, like, you can get a closing kit. I do get that some years. I might do it again this year, I'm not sure, but it's got like a stain and scale thing to not create a line where like a water line where you are, to help eliminate that. Usually have like some sort of thing you leave in it's either a bunch of chlorine you dump in the pool, or like some sort of thing that slowly releases it. I'm just going to put a few pucks into my little floater skimmer here, my little floating chlorinator, and leave that in there. I'll probably pound a bunch of algicide to her as well, and probably be good. You can always get your water back in the spring, but you really want to make sure you get these lines and everything, the equipment blown out. I'm also doing an experiment this year where I'm not going to put on a winter cover. I have a big tarp, and that is easily the biggest pain in the butt of this whole process, is getting the tarp out, filling up the water bags, you know, getting everything all set up, have it not blow away. I'm usually doing it on a day much more windier than this, and it's a huge pain. And then, of course, at opening time, that is also a massive pain of getting the thing off the pool, getting the water off of the cover first, getting it cleaned, emptying the water bags, cleaning the water bags. That is easily the worst part. So I'm doing an experiment this year. I'm not even going to do it. A lot of folks in the neighborhood aren't even bothering. Apparently it's a little bit safer. Like if you have a kid that falls onto the tarp, it's much more difficult to get out of the pool than it is just to get out of this low amount of water if there was no tarp. So we're going to try that out, see how it goes, see how cleanup is in the spring. But other than that, hope this video helped you out. You know, I'm no pool expert, but I've done this a few times here. So hopefully this gave you a few tips. If you liked the video, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Have a great one. We'll see you next time on Fixing Random Crap with Craig.